Hello, this is Kim Malinowski. For those of you who don't know my last name, I always go like, "Hi, this is Kim," usually. And yeah, I do have a last name sometimes. If you you know, a lot of places, I don't use it at all. I'm just like, I'm Kim. My name tag just says Kim. A lot of times in archaeology, Kim. Don't even bother with the last name. And I do have like a little bit of news because you never know if it affects readings or not. And you get to know more about me. So this last Friday, I went to the Mac Lab, which is in Maryland. It's where everything pretty much archaeology goes, and everything that gets dug up usually winds up there, as long as it has provenience, has meaning, and usually like even the notes for the digs and stuff go with it. So there's lots of potential for future research and that sort of thing. I went for what is called a typology collection, and that means it's basically a collection meant for learning. So you have it at your lab, which is the lab that I say I work at. I don't get paid for, right? But I work at it, right? I do a lot of stuff there. And I bitched the right person, and I was able to um get both pre-contact, which used to be called a prehistoric pre-contact, um, pre-contact materials that my mentor, Dr. Singer, um did. He went and got those and was able to take them back. Don't know how many boxes he got, but I got one box, so I'm a little jealous of what I saw. He was like, "No big things." I saw some big things. Um, but I went through and I learned a lot. Like this is creamware. This is salt glaze. It has ebony glaze on one side, and it's a white, regular salt glaze on the other, and it's standard white clay, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. And then I'd go, I'd like to learn about nails. Now, the look of horror was amazing. And I'm like, well, I know nothing. And it was not at me. It's the fact that my lab had no equipment to show me. We have no equipment, so to speak. Our screens are the broken ones. The ones that we put, things on to dry are the broken ones that don't work in the field anymore. Hmm. I tried to explain how humble my lab was. I got a lot of great stuff for it, so it's not as humble. But at the same time, it's a little shameful. It's not as shameful now, but just admitting, hey, by the way, don't you have a colored printer? Well, I don't use the colored printer if we do have it. I use my parents', color printer. I did not say that. I just said, well, sort of let it hang. But I got a PDF of the entire website, but in such a nicer form. So I don't have extra pages and they don't run over. And so I printed them professionally. And it is amazing. We'll just leave it at that, okay? I'm not gonna reach back and be like, look this. This is so that's another geek out. Okay. And then the big probably announcement that I started making yesterday, which was, oh, what was it? The 13th, January 13th, January 15th, my father is getting a complete and total knee replacement. And it's on the experimental side because his knee is so bad. Okay. So Kim is going to be a hot mess just because of caregiving, not necessarily um all the emotions that go with, the knee, but all the emotions that go with everyone that came before that knee. I took care of my grandmother. I took care of, this woman named Loretta, who is I call my third grandmother and my fourth grandmother, and my mother. I put, the compression hose on and that sort of thing. My mother is also having some health issues. I don't know what it is, and she either does not say or does not know, and she has been to the doctor, several of them, but like she can't get to like another room without being out of breath. So helping my father is going to be difficult. She's agreed that when I'm doing archaeology, like at the lab, she'll take over, but it's going to be difficult. So I'm also in charge of the yard. I'm in charge of the house, and I'm going to be in charge of probably cooking because my mother really doesn't cook. So I also have my usual duties to the Poetry Witch community, the Poetry Salon, the Terra Nova Lyceum, and so forth. Okay. I'm going to be trying to be as present as possible. I might be more present than usual because I won't be running around. But I wanted you to know that because as our decks go, you never know when sometimes I might need a message and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, it's big." And you might need the same message, but like, you have to put it out there. And a lot of people don't, if you're like listening to the web, which I listen to YouTube all the time, all these different readings. And I learn and I figure out what decks they like and that sort of thing. But sometimes I'm like, this message might be more for you, sweets. Okay. And I wouldn't know if it really is more for them because they don't like give personal information. I also know you all better. So that's a little different. Now we're going to be using the Witch's Kitchen, which I've used before. And also I've used this especially in private readings. And by the way, I do private readings. I'm doing one this evening / this afternoon. I'm sure I pick up more sticks in my yard. All right, this is the Black Moon astrology card. It doesn't come with like a booklet. So sometimes I'll be reading booklets, and sometimes I'm like, we're just going with what's on the card. And those are not pre-shuffle. These are, and they work backwards, which I think is really interesting. I don't know why I think that's interesting, but I do. They are almost completely, the journey is backwards through the book. Now this is Witch Hazel, sensitivity. Okay, and I have to admit, with Witch Hazel, I think of bruises and like healing bruises, and I've never known if it really does or not, or if it's one of those like folk wisdoms that you're like, well, it doesn't really work. But you can say it does. My grandmother swore by it. Okay. And I bruise like nobody's business. I look like right now, like I've been beaten and like somebody's grabbed me and they haven't. Okay, guys, they haven't. It was just boxes. All right. So I don't read these little like quotes they have, the spells. So I just don't feel them. They don't resonate with me. They're bad poetry. Okay. So Witch Hazel's guidance, it's talking about sensitivity and emotional. When you wear your heart on your sleeve, you become an open book. And I put it in parentheses of shadows. And that can land you in sticky situations. As you focus more on your magic work, you'll find your intuition heightens, as does your sensitivity. Excuse me. Merely avoiding those who make you sore as well as those who rather see you with a blemished reputation does not serve a sensitive soul such as yourself. Rich in tannins, my powerful antioxidants cast soothing, healing spells on the most dermatological issues and banish the dark circles under your eyes as well. I need that. As well as troublesome emotions and negativities when you use an herbal elixir. So instead of becoming thick-skinned, allow me nature's astringent to relieve you of any irritations or pains in the backside as you learn to appreciate and hone your empathetic nature. Okay, so becoming more sensitive, maybe not being too sensitive either. Um, and it's sort of like a clairvoyant sort of sensitivity. I understand clairvoyant has a little bit of a different meaning, but go with me here, okay? I don't want to use the word psychic. It's not quite psychic, but like some of your sensitivity, some of the empathicness, some of that sort of stuff. It definitely is sort of like feeling of the self-care that goes with it. Personal story, as always. Um, it was it must have been the winter solstice. And I had just had it was like the time when I thought I was dying. Okay, the 2 days that I was dying, I lost 3 pounds of muscle and I was near death. I was so dehydrated and didn't know it. Um, it was truly awful. And a week later, I went to West Virginia, sitting with Brian. He's sick, and I am recovered, you could say. And he made me take my eyeglasses off, and he looked at me and he went, "What is wrong with your eyes? You have black and blue eyes, Kim. Black and blue, and they're puffy." I think he thought I was beaten. And it was because, blood vessels burst when you're dying. Um, so I mean, like, sleep wasn't exactly great. I was throwing up my pills. And if anyone knows I'm bipolar, I need my pills. So it had been a hot mess of a week. And then he accidentally made it even worse, right? Those eyes. Oh my God, Kim. Although he's teased me now because I said, my mother got me stuff for Christmas so that I wouldn't have it. I'm not wearing it, by the way. So that so my dark circles don't show quite so badly. And he was like, well, Kim, I never said you were like a raccoon. I just said that you have black and blue eyes. Thank you. So, I'm not sure, very little, witch hazel maybe. That's not exactly what I would use, but, like, do you have dark circles and puffy eyes? And 2, the tannins that they're talking about in, witch hazel, and you don't wanna use, like, product products. They do say that, like, if you have, like, warm, like, tea bags, you can put them on. I've always used black tea. I don't know if you can use other teas, but, like, that's, like, my little homeopathic idea. Now they do have a recommended recipe, but it's not for eyes, it's for clearing acne and pores. But you can find it online. My fear is that I will be giving, things that I don't need, and that won't be used. Okay, sage purification. So we go to sensitivity to purification. And I feel like this is sort of like a process of almost like detoxing. Does that make sense as I go through this? I think it'll make more sense because I've seen the other 2 cards. All right, so this is sage, purification. And sage, this is written, of course, as sage. You become a stagnant when it comes to magic and have taken a dim view and what once lit you up. Stale energies have blocked magical intentions and prevented desired outcomes. Time for a little spiritual spring cleaning. And this is actually really good as we go into Imbolc. If you're listening to this as I'm reading it, right before January 15th, it's January 14th. This is probably technically the week January 15th for it. But Imbolc, December Imbolc, February 2nd, is coming and it is starting of the spring and the beginning of new growth. So this might be like in preparation. If you're reading, you're watching this now, you're having me read this to you now. Okay. So just think about it. So spiritual spring cleaning. Use my white variety and a cleansing ritual to smudge contaminants and get your working space ceremonially clean. My power for purification will clear and lift the energy of your altar as you waft the smoke of lit bundle over the sacred area. I'm entering myself here. There's a lot of debate of whether you should use white sage or not. Make sure it's ethically taken just in case. Okay, I do use white sage on occasion. A lot of times I have resin instead. I use myrrh, which is for the dead, and I use frankincense, which is more for the life. Which of course on all of the Sabbaths and really any holiday, it honors both, as we go through the wheel. So just like have that in mind, okay, please. All right. So there is like a hot debate. Is it proper? Is it not? If American Indians are selling it to you, is it still appropriation? Use your best judgment. I don't judge. Okay, I don't have a say on this. But I do want to bring it to the forefront and have it mentioned. You will hear about it in certain circles. Okay. The other thing you can do, there are sage sprays. If you cannot, like I have asthma, so sometimes it doesn't work. I actually like came down the steps. This is really too personal. I'm sorry. I'm telling you all these stories. I went down the steps. I'm doing my entire thing. I'm about to, end my circle. My dad walks in. I literally have the sage bundle over his head. He goes, "Something's burning, Kim. What's going on?" And I'm just like, ah. So if you have that moment, sage spray works really well too. And you don't have to use white sage, just so you know. My garden variation is well known as a culinary herb, for my aroma is both sweet and savory. I'm used for countless kitchen witchery spells, as well as promoting wisdom and building emotional strength. That also assists in manifestation magic and bringing you pure luck. Now, I use sage also in excuse me, my pans or my pots, depending on what I'm using, my simmer pans and pots. I use sage every time. Also, I'm trying to decide, like, if you put sage in your food, you don't have to have like this elaborate spell work. Just I'm like I'm the witch that throws down the salt and says, "Okay, this is the way it's gonna be," versus the 10 hours of ritual. I am the throw the salt down and go bam. Okay. So just put it in your meal and have intentions. Don't even have to say grace or whatever. Just feel like, huh. And so it is, Yeah. So like I said, this is on our way through the journey. And it really does feel like a detox. This is onion, tears. So sometimes tears are just a release. I know if I get angry, like really angry, I start crying. I haven't cried in a long, long time. Like I mean like tears, bawling. And I have to admit that even with all the deaths and all the things that have been, there's a few tears, of course, but I haven't like broken down. It's been when I should have. And I can still feel it deep inside me, like it hasn't come out. Okay. So maybe this is a release. We need a release. Okay. I'm going to say what it says, but think of release. Your emotion seems to be running to the show, and crying over spilt milk is not the answer in getting to the root of your sensitive outbursts. If you slice me in half, my chemical irritant will certainly give you something to cry about. My defensive attack is familiar to any kitchen witch, but be brave and fight back the onslaught of teardrops, unless you wish to season your meal with salty tears. Maybe you do. Sounds like fun, actually. I mean, like, I should not, I should not serve myself with that. Sounds like fun, but instead use my pungent, aromatic flavor to transform any dish, and after consumption, you'll find that you have the power of banishment upon every breath. I wonder why. Plant my bulb around your property for protection, or slice me in two. Slide in the name of your perpetrator on a piece of paper and seal with a pin or two to banish harm. I have heard people do that. By the way, that's a variation of my lemon and cayenne pill that I did to some people that in war, a literal war. When Afghanistan, uh, what I call fell, um, I did a huge lemon spell, 12 or 13 lemons, put cayenne in it, put them together. And I definitely prayed and everything else that at the very least there were some itchiness that kept some women from being hurt, we'll say. I have other words, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say them on YouTube and if they're trigger warnings. I'll soak up negativity, strengthen your immune system, and heal your wounds. And because I grow so quickly, I'm a wizard at accelerating the potency of fertility spells. Now, that's definitely something to cry about. Oh, about fertility spells? All right, anyway, I think it was about the entire thing and not just fertility spells, but like, just like, if you need some extra it sounds like the onion is the way to go. Also in your food. So you can like have that purification of sage and like onion kind of goes with it, kind of savory. I would not put witch hazel in your food, but that's just me. Mustard, maybe. All right. Mustard is faith, which is why I said this is sort of like, beyond purification to sort of detox. A lack of a belief has stripped you from confidence. And when it comes to performing magic, and I would say not just magic, just performing, work, even hobbies, or what you consider hobbies, or like like right now, I'm like a ugh, and I'm not depressed. It's just ugh, right? My hair is flat. I didn't feel like putting on lip gloss. I didn't feel like putting on, eye makeup. I don't do that when I'm paid. And please, it's fine if we just show up. All right? If you only could believe what others already perceive as the very real indeed. Mistrust has led you blindly to the point you find yourself at now, and hope and expectations fail you. Allow me to instill a little faith in you with the power of just one seed, which, when used as an amulet, brings assurance and success. So maybe that's, like I do spell bundles, and you don't necessarily have to wear them as like a necklace. You can put them in your bra if you're a female. And I'm sure there's some other way if you're male that I just don't know. Or non-binary, obviously, of course. And in your purse, backpack, whatever. You can just like slide it in. That's fine, your briefcase. And my joke is, and this is a rock thing versus just herbs. I also have herb stuff. Like I'm like, oh, my purse is so heavy. I have to take the rocks out. And last time Brian goes, I never know when you're joking and when you're not. And then I started taking out the rocks, and he was like, okay. And I actually have I have I wanted dandelion puffs, but it was winter, and I went to a metaphysical store, and I was like, hey, do you have this? Um, my other cousin, the one that did not die, got COVID, and I was so frightened. I mean, obviously, if one person dies, the next person that has COVID, I mean, I freak out like anything. So he actually gave me like the Pussy Willow Puffs. So I have been carrying them around for a few years now. And they are for protection. At least I say they're for protection, just like those dandelions are. And they have love of that gentleman that gave them to me because he didn't charge. He's like, this is all I have. It's our decoration. And like things like that, like that come to you are sometimes more protective than like just like finding a mustard seed and putting it in. So if someone has given you like flowers, let's say like later for Valentine's Day or for Christmas, like tuck it in. Sometimes I get what I call grave gifts, and that is either my grandmother or like I call them a neighbor has gifted me like a stem or a leaf. And like I know I can feel it in my soul that I am to take it, okay? And it's not wrong because a lot of people would just toss it. That's what you do, you clean up. So I say thank you very much. And usually I add and give it another gift, another flower, coffee, whatever. And then I take it and I feel protected. And I do believe that's what got me through the original wave of COVID. Because there's many times we should have gotten it despite my obsessive cleaning. I believe that it was my grandmother protecting us through these, and her neighbors through these, stems. And I have a stem in my car that was just gifted from a neighbor, and it was on my grandmother's side. I didn't go hunting. I said thank you, coffee, everything else. Bless you. And then I took it, and it's there, and it just feels protected. And you can do this with small things, harm, something that comes to you. And I have a friend that she can find anything on the ground, I swear. And I think that it has a very similar effect, you know? Okay, so like, yes, you can carry the mustard seed, please, but also think about the other stuff around you. My white seeds are considered powerful guardians of protection from both physical and spiritual harm. Scattering my black seeds will disrupt the action of those who are vexatious. These words. Time to trust is both the seen and unseen betwixt the tween as your faith in the old ways returns. I'm going to read that last line because I believe that this is the end of our journey. Time to trust in both the seen and unseen, betwixt and between, as your faith in the old ways returns. So that is an entire journey that we went through from having no faith all the way to regaining faith. Okay. So I think that's an important message that we're on a journey and we don't have to feel a certain way all of the time. I think that's important because I always think that I have to be positive. I mean, people always tell me, Tim, go to therapy on Facebook, which I really don't like. And please do not do it to anyone else because it has the opposite effects. Um, it will make a person much, much worse. And I understand this, and I understand that everybody comes from a caring place. I have blocked people though that have done it too often, even though I told them not to. Okay. And it seems to be an easy way of saying I've done something without actually doing something. So instead of saying, I think you need therapy, please find somebody that they know if you do not know them well and say, hey, can you mention this? I think that they need professional help. Or say, I would like to talk to you a little bit more and actually talk and help and then sort of insert it. And hey, have you thought about, like I go to, and like you can make it a much nicer conversation. And yes, it does require more work on your part. Okay. But Kim has talked to people in Switzerland and Sweden and Europe like semi on the phone, like they would like send messages to me, and I found them in writing groups, not in any other groups. It's strangers. It just needed to be listened to. Okay? They don't need advice. They need an ear. And I've given it to them. So please also do that. If we all listen to each other, our needs, our desires, our wants, our fears, our hopes, our dreams, I mean, good, bad, everything, chances are we will decrease violence. We will decrease all this, like, slaughter in the United States. I can't tell you about elsewhere, just here. And it's small things that make you snap. Like yesterday, my paper bag of groceries broke, and I wanted to scream and cry. And it's such a small thing, but it adds, and it's the last step before somebody snaps. And if we can just listen, hold out our hand, do it. Now, this is the Black Moon astrology cards. Now, I think I got them off of a site. I won't say which site, but I didn't know any better. That it's sort of like the discard site, I think, at least for tarot. My friends are very happy with it because, they don't have much money and they're able to like really buy stuff and get stuff well. And I just let you listen to the cards. Some people find it very soothing, ASMR. If you hear me versus other readers, I do not say, oh, spirit, blah, blah, blah. I find that very fake. I say stuff in my head. I do not call spirit. I might say universe. Usually it's just a blank thank you and please. Top of the deck, Cancer, I feel, and we just get it inverted. So we might feel a little blocked, a little harder to feel and everything. And the number is 16 if you're into numbers and they resonate for you. I am not a numerologist. I will tell you that now. But 16, 6, 1, 7 might be important. All right, I'm gonna cut the deck. We have ninth house, faith. Got sort of like that faith card again. We need to have faith. We need to be faith. We need to just breathe and just accept. Sometimes that is what faith is. I have a problem with the word faith. It doesn't resonate for me like as like something that I can tangible. accept and let come is a lot easier for me to understand. You can see that hand there reaching out. Now it's over a Ouija board sort of thing, but just a hand out, you know? It's 33, if that's important to you. So that goes back to 6, or you can add it up yourself because Kim doesn't do that. I don't. Fifth house, creativity. I definitely feel like creativity is probably how we get through this cycle, how we go through to the where we feel like we are present again. I have a place that I call my dark chocolate, which I don't talk about because it's like my place. I go to a different school. It's online, but it's not like a teaching. It's a witchy sort of I write so that I feel place. I have to go back there. I'm a little bit behind in this like in the last 2 weeks. And like it does feel like dark chocolate, like it's like, oh, I know this will never get published, but oh, it makes my soul feel so good. Okay. It's like sometimes we need that where it is creative. A lot of my writing I don't call creative, it's work. And people are like, Kim, that's selling out. You have creativity. Well, it depends who you're talking to, right? If you're talking to me, it's almost like it just comes. And I'm like, it's work. I was told to write the story, so I wrote the story. Now, of course, there was something else there. It wasn't me. So this dark chocolate, this just for pleasure. And I feel called for one more. It's this one. Oh, it's these two. Oh, first that one was 29. All right, part of fortune, increase. It is in reverse. It is 45. So part of fortune increase. Well, technically the opposite is decrease, but I think it must mean that we're sort of a little stuck, and that to increase or go towards that where we have faith or we actually feel ourselves, which is sort of like a spirituality where we can just feel and breathe by ourselves, and like you don't have to be completely without anxiety, but like there is a space where you're like, yes, I am. And like trying to get to I am is probably the most difficult thing ever, but it is definitely what I'm trying to be. Also, um, inverted is 43 lunar eclipse change. And I would say that we are changing, but maybe it's not as big of a change as we are making it out to be. Doesn't have to be as anxiety invoking. I'm going to put it upright. Change can be good, and we are okay. And that is our reading for this week. It can be timeless. It can be for the week of January 14th. I want to say be well. I appreciate everyone that has been supporting me over like the last several weeks. I know I've been crazy. A lot of things that were going on I did not say. And that of course is my parents. So I really, really want to thank you. Um, be well, take care of yourself and take care. And so it is.